Welcome to another episode of Ozfish. Welcome aboard the bass boat. Bass boat's parked up in the driveway today, blowing a strong westerly, so I can't get to sea. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a video in relation to what's in a snapper troller's lure box. Over the last 5 weeks or so, I've been getting into a bit of snapper trolling. Never done it before. I certainly didn't invent it. Plenty of guys have done it before and seemed to be really big 8-9 years ago, but then it just sort of faded out. And like I've said on my videos, snapper trolling is absolutely not for everybody. But it's kind of like it's a fun thing for me to do. When you do get a really good fish on the troll, it's kind of like this really cool sort of like novel way to catch a snapper. So it's certainly got me in, and I certainly like it, and I'm certainly happy to put some hours into trolling. So and after fishing for 5 or 6 weeks and doing a lot of snapper trolling, I think the way to what I'm going to do with my snapper fishing is, I think it's best to incorporate multiple things into your snapper fishing in a session. Like it's really cool to snapper troll, particularly earlier in the day. I have hit some really good fish earlier in the day, 1:30 in the day, sun really bright in the sky, which sort of opened my eyes up to what's possible to catch quality fish early in the day. So it's kind of cool to sort of troll down early in the day to some of your snapper grounds, because I love fishing in the afternoon, so I usually come around the heads where I fish in Newcastle about 1:30, and I love to sort of troll down, and then I get to my spots, and I think it's great to have a bit of a go back to those plastics and fish hard on the plastics, and then if you're going to work your way back home, troll soft plastic fish, sometimes even go a little bit wider and play around with a bit of micro jigging and things like that. I don't want to trick myself too much when I'm snapper fishing and have too many lures to choose from. So this is my this is my lure trolling box, and I've narrowed it down to these few lures that I'm going to trial over the next month or so. And the lure that I began to use first was the Rapala Deep Tail Dancer. It's a beautiful big bib, really nice colours, and I have caught some really good quality fish on these lures. Not too big a profile, which may or may not be important in relation to catching snapper on a consistent basis. I'm not sure yet, I haven't done enough of it, but they seem to love this size lure. Maybe it's an easy meal for them, an easy snack, I'm not quite sure. And like I've said before, I love to just take the front treble off and just use the rear treble, and most of the snapper takes that I get they're striking the rear of the lure, so that's what I kind of do. But definitely the Rapala Tail Dancer is a fantastic lure. With about 50 meters and 15-pound braid out, I can get this lure down to about, I reckon, about 31 feet, 32 feet. It's rated at 30 feet, and I don't seem to be able to get too much more depth out of it. It doesn't matter how much line I let out, it just seems to get to a kind of like a maximum depth that it wants to go to and then stops. So but they're hard, very, very difficult to get in tackle shops, the Rapala Deep Tail Dancer, but if you come across it, definitely grab a few, they're worth it, like that. The only downside to this lure is that they're made of balsa, so you can see how on the the rear of this lure, the toe point here sometimes will be torn left and right with fish and that kind of thing, but I just keep manipulating it back into place with a pair of pliers, and I just keep kind of like super gluing it, and they'll still swim. But it's a great lure. And what I've done over the last week or so is that I came across these, I think they're a division of Halco, but they're an RMG Scorpion. This is a 125, and they're rated at 8 meters plus. Got a big bib on them, and so, you know, 3 out to 24, so it's going to go down 24 feet. But man, this lure, if you let 50 meters of 15 pound braid out, this lure is actually hitting the bottom in about, I reckon, 42 feet. So yeah, it will go really, really, really deep, which is really cool for me, because I love to troll this lure between about 48 feet out to about 55 feet, which, you know, gives me a depth that I actually, you know, wasn't getting out to or fishing with the tail dancer. Caught a really nice snapper, big solid 61. Really old fish on this on this lure the other day, and I've certainly caught plenty of rock cod and plenty of, you know, Sergeant Baker, and it's a really cool colour with the orange and the gold and the green. But I think this is going to be a really good lure for me, and the great thing about this lure is that, you know, you can get them in the fishing shops pretty easy. You can find them all over the place in tackle shops, which is great, you know. And of course, this is the same RMG Scorpion, but this is in the 150. And I had a trial run of this yesterday as well, and caught some rock cod and different things like that on it. So yeah, it kind of looks like a tailor or something like that. So even that size could be really good for snapper trolling. And Josh from Samaki Fishing sent me up a few of the new Samaki Reddick 120s, just to see if I could actually catch some snapper on them. And they're a beautiful looking lure, and I can certainly get the Reddick down to about 30 feet with 50 meters of 15 pound braid out. So they're definitely down in the strike zone, and you can see how this one here, it's already been hit and smash, and so far I haven't caught a snapper on them yet. You haven't caught a snapper on them yet. The snapper fishing has been really tough over the last 2 to 3 trips, but I've caught plenty of red rock cod and big horse Sergeant Baker on them, so they're in the strike zone, and it's only a matter of time, I think, before I sting a really good snapper on the Reddick. They come in fantastic colours, so I'll get back to you and just see how the Reddick works out. But they certainly they're a fantastic looking lure. I like them. And I haven't actually tried this lure yet. I found it in the fishing shop the other day on special, but it's a killer lure, and it's rated at 20 feet plus. So really nice bright colour, which the snappers seem to like, and I reckon it's possible that I could get this down to 30 feet as well. I'd say a lot of braid out, so I'm going to give this a test run as well. It's got a really cool interchangeable sort of like rattle system in the side, different size rattles, so it could be a cool lure as well. And of course there's the classic lure Dr. Evil, really big bib, and I haven't caught a snapper on this one so far, but I've caught plenty of rock cod and actually plenty of big horse Sergeant Baker. And yesterday I actually had another one of these Dr. Evils, and I hit a fish, and he was a good fish, but he actually bit me off, so lost my lure. I spew it. I'm not sure what it was, but it was a good fish. But these will get down really deep as well, so I'm trolling these lures between about, you know, like 48 feet out to 55 feet, you know, like even a little bit further out to 60 feet. So they're a proven snapper taker. I've seen guys on videos and they will take snapper, but I haven't taken one yet. And this is a Seville Coolie Minnow. I picked this up in the fishing shop. Haven't swum it yet, but it's rated to, it will go down about 30 feet, I think, maybe a little bit further, with a lot of braid out. So it's a really nice bite size for a snapper. So I'm really keen to try this lure as well. You know, like nice colour. It could be deadly as well. And what I've only just received in the mail from Mo Tackle is, these are the Rapala Deep Tail Dancer. This is the big brother. And incredibly, these are rated at 40 feet. So it's a really beautiful profile. Not too big, not too small. And if this is rated at 40 feet already, I'm hoping I can get this down to 45 feet. I'm actually hoping that I could get this lure actually down to 50 feet, which would be awesome because I'd be able to, you know, like troll out between 55 feet and out to about 65 feet. So I think this lure's got a massive amount of potential. I love the colour scheme on it. Really bright yellows and pinks and silvers and oranges, which, you know, the snapper just love these sort of colours. So yeah, this could be a good lure for me, man. You know, I'm hoping. So yeah, this is my main trolling outfit. You know, like this is an old G Loomis GL2. They don't make this model rod anymore, but it's about 7 foot long, and it's a great rod for trolling, and also a fantastic rod for bait fishing for snapper as well. If you're going to float line, it's a really cool rod. You can see how I've got it rigged up with a Rapala tail dancer, and this particular Rapala tail dancer, I've caught a lot of fish on this lure. It's really good fish, 65s and 60s, and this lure has been just smashed, punched, big teeth marks from snapper where they hit it on the back, and I just, you know, always just super glue it back into place when they tear that toe point out, and it still seems to swim pretty good. And I've just given a bit of a touch up with a bit of a colour scheme with a permanent marker, but yeah, and of course the single treble on the back. That's what I love to fish with. I've got it rigged is, this is a multicoloured 25 pound braid, but it's very thin, like 15. And then what I do is I simply come down and I just tie an FG knot. This FG knot would be 3 weeks old, down to a 20 pound fluorocarbon. Yeah, and what I do really love as well is I love this Pen Slammer 3. It's a 3,500 spooled with 25 pound Daiwa braid. I think they call it Daiwa Grand. But yeah, this reel is as a trolling reel. It's got a little bit of weight in it, a little bit heavy, but as a trolling reel, yeah, it's great. I love it. One thing I do a lot is that, like, a well-tied FG knot will last for a long time. And then what I do is I top shot with a double uni knot, 5 turns on each side. So if this becomes frayed or damaged, I'm just constantly top shotting with the double uni knot, and that system works really well for me. That FG knot will last for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't have to retie it, and yeah, I've never lost a fish on a double uni knot. It's a very strong knot. And sometimes one advantage is if you do hook up your lure occasionally and you can't get it off, sometimes this will be a little bit of a weak spot in your system, and yeah, it will break away and you still save the fluorocarbon and your braid. So yeah, that's the kind of system that I use. And what I have been doing is I've been trialling 1 rod, 2 rods, 1 rod and 2 rods. I'm out chasing 80, man, and 80 plus on the troll. So I want to be able to hit him and get on him, man. It's a game of angles, and get around, get some of that braid back because I've got 50 meters out, and sort of get over the top of him, get his head up, and yeah. The conclusion that I come to is I'm fishing on my own all the time, so when I am trolling, I just love to use 1 rod. It just gives me lots of flexibility. I don't have to worry about another rod out. If I hit a big fish, you know, like, it gives me a chance to get on him, to maneuver. With 2 rods out with a lot of line, it's absolute nightmare. So for me, on my own, 1 rod is the go. So yes, snapper trolling, to me, I just sort of like treat it like really like game fishing. Many times, you know, like when you go game fishing, you punch out to the shelf, you troll around, and yeah, you don't turn a reel. But what you do is you keep going back and you keep going back, because yeah, when you do hit those fish, you know, it's absolutely epic, and they're kind of like fish of a lifetime. So I tend to treat my snapper trolling a little bit like game fishing. So yeah, I'm prepared to put the time in, you know, cover the ground, and you know, so far the biggest fish I've caught are 65s, which out of Newcastle, the port that I fish, is a really good fish. You know, if you're a little bit north and that, you know, 65s are a bit, you know, like, yeah, they catch them all the time, you know, like, but I'm aiming to catch a fish, you know, 70 to 80 on the troll, and I think if I put in enough time out of Newey, I've got a good shot of doing it. So the thing that I've learnt from snapper trolling is that you can hit quality fish way earlier in the day than you actually ever thought. And I think there's two tactics to use when you're snapper trolling. The tactic that I'm using at the moment is that I'm simply fishing various depths from about 36 feet out to around about 60 feet. And what I'm doing is I'm just basically zigzagging, and I'm covering a lot of ground. And I'm running into those odd active fish up high, a little bit high in the water column. I think another way to also snapper troll, which I just haven't had to come across these huge concentrations of bait yet, but if you come across huge concentrations of bait in a pretty big area, I think if you just swing around and you just work that bait, those snapper will be up feeding on that bait. And that's another way to snapper troll, is to mark and work a big area. It might be the size of a football field or 2 football fields, and constantly work that area, and I think you'll catch fish. And interestingly enough, the other day I was fishing a plateau, which is about a mile and a half to sea, and it comes up to about 53 feet in its shallowest point. It's probably about the size of 10 football fields, and it falls away to 68 to 70 feet in certain parts of the plateau. And the other day I actually hit a fish. There was huge amounts of bait on the sounder, and I was in actually 70 feet, and the bait was about 30 feet down from the top, and it was all the way from 30 feet down right down to 20 feet from the bottom, 10 feet from the bottom. So I was working that bait, trolling it, and the trolling rod went off, and I actually hit a fish in 70 feet of water. Now that fish was a Sergeant Baker, but caught him on one of the RMG Scorpions, and I can get this lure down about 40 to 42 feet. So I was in 70 foot of water, and I had a lure that was going down 40 to 42 feet, and I cracked that Sergeant Baker, way up in the water column. So I guess I'm not really sure. I think what happens sometimes is that, when there's concentrations of bait right up off the bottom, usually you see your bait, a lot of times it's mid-water. So if you're in 45 foot of water, you'll see that bait 20 feet down, 25 feet down, and there's no doubt that those snapper are like a pelagic they're just like a pelagic predator. They're like a salmon or a bonito or a kingfish or a tailor. They will be up, and they will be actively hunting that bait fish way off the bottom. And so they're an incredible fish like that. It's also possible that, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Dave Austin, and he put this theory to me, and this is quite possible. I never thought of this. It is possible that when you get huge schools of sweep and other fish like that, it's possible that the snapper may be using that as as mid-water structure, and they're kind of just hanging with those other fish. They're just sort of resting with those fish and using it as a slowly moving piece of mid-water structure. And when you come through them with a lure or close to them, perhaps that triggers that reaction bite from that snapper, and perhaps I'm catching fish like that. I don't know. Time will tell. But Dave, a very interesting theory that I've never really thought of, because Dave referred me to a video where there are big snapper laying in huge schools of sweep mid-water that the divers have come across, and those snapper up, and they're just sort of slowly swimming and resting with the sweep and other different sorts of fish, so who knows. But anyway, I hope that's given you a little bit of a look at some of the lures that I have in my lure box. I don't want to have too many different brands. I've got about 3 or 4, and that'll do me. That's enough to catch snapper with. I don't want to sort of trick myself. I hope this has helped you and give you a bit of a look in relation to the lures that I'm using and the basic outfit I'm using. But yeah,